we think the answer is to try harder, it's to do more. But there are times when that's the universe saying, you're not aligned, you need to go a different way. And that, my friends, I think is the key. It's not so much about your intention, your motives being pure or whatever. It's about how aligned you are. And it's so crazy because the more I think about it, the more I realize that the systems of this world are literally built to drain your attention and your focus and to drain your energy. Like that is the most precious currency that we have. And yet we are surrounded. We are encumbered by distraction, right? We are overtaken by all these different elements around us, whether it be our phones, our jobs, our families, our partners, right? Whatever interest we have, right? Because even that can be a distraction from your soul's purpose. The powers that be do not want you to connect with that voice inside of you, right? Your inner thunder, right? That inner voice of God. The powers that are, they don't want us to connect to that. Because when we are aligned, mind, soul, heart, when all of it is connected and on one accord, we become unstoppable, right? My mind goes back to the story of the Tower of Babel, right? The Bible said that all the people spoke the same language. And because of that, nothing would, like, it just said God came down and saw this. It's like, oh, the people speak one language. Because of this, nothing will be impossible for them. Like they said in their minds, like, hey, we're going to build a tower to heaven. And God himself said, sorry, champ, I can't let you do that. But a different way of looking at it, or a way of interpreting that, is by recognizing that your head, your heart, your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, all speak different languages, right? A lot of the time they are not all on the same page. But what would happen in your life if you brought your head, your heart, and your soul on one accord? If you got your head to follow your heart, which was listening to the whisper of your soul. Because we're all, like, we're told follow our hearts, right? But then we're also told make good decisions. So we're torn between logic. We're torn between logic and emotion, right? Sensing and knowing. But the only way we get there, the only way we gain that clarity is through practice, inner silence, right? Taking breaks away from all the distractions. Because that's what's needed. We need space internally so that we can hear exactly what it is our heart might be saying, so that we can hear exactly what it is our soul is saying for us. Because this is one thing I know to be true, that, like, we're just speaking, about the head and the heart. If the heart says no, it's a no, no matter what the mind says. Right? I've learned that if you have to convince yourself of something, whether it is something you want to do, something you want to have, right? Like if you need to write out the list of pros and cons, right? The benefits and the risk, and you need that in order to make your decision, your heart's probably already told you no. And that you're trying to convince it of what it is that you think you want to do in your mind. But if the heart says no, it's a no. Now, if the heart says yes and the head says no, then it's best just to kind of move in it and wait for the mind to come around. Because it typically does. But to end up in circumstances and situations where it doesn't seem like that there's any way out, or life has gotten so heavy that it's hard to dream your way out, right? Like I've been there, like in those moments where it just felt like life was so dark and so heavy that to begin to think about a future different than that was, disingenuous, impossible. It just didn't feel like it was going to be something I would be able to do. So why even try? Like, why even begin to get my hopes up for something that's not going to happen? But that's really like one of the first things you have to do in order to work out of those moments, right? The way you get out from under that weight is by recognizing that, first of all, your mind is really creating most of the stories around why something can or can't be done. And then it's a matter of trusting that where you are is not where you're meant to stay. But then again, like I said, our soul has agreements, our soul has lessons it needs to learn. And sometimes we just might have to ride a storm out until we learn exactly what it is that we need to learn. And that's between your soul and God, like when that moment is. I think about my wife, and prior to her passing, how she was doing everything she felt led to do in terms of her healing journey. And at every turn, I check in with her, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What are you feeling, right? What are you intuiting about X, Y, or Z? And whatever her decision was, I never went against it. I never questioned it. Of course, we had discussion, but I always rocked with her intuition when it came to her body and how she wanted to walk her healing path. And it led to her transitioning out of this world. So, do I feel like we did something wrong? Do I feel like she made the wrong choice? I'm torn. Because, like, on one hand, yes, I want her here with me in 3D reality, in life. And at the same time, I recognize that when the soul wants to be out, when his job is done, they're not sticking around Earth just to, for shiggles. That ain't happening. So it's definitely a different way of looking at it, but your life from top to bottom is completely your responsibility. Nobody's coming to save you. You are in the driver's seat. You can fix it. You have that power. And there are things that your soul is here to learn. You're gonna get these lessons. And here's one way I think you can kind of identify what the lessons are. The places in your life where you think small thoughts about yourself, where you think that you can't, where you think you are unable, where you don't have all the internal resources, or there's fear, right? Like, where does fear prevent you from moving forward? Where does fear stop you from stepping up, showing yourself? Not even to the world, but to yourself, right? Like, do you know who you are? Until you answer that question, it's like, I don't think we can really expect much from external reality until we know that truth. Until we know who it is that we are. And not a name, where we're from, a nationality, none of that. Who are you? Behind the identity, right? Above the personality. And I think when we tap into that, life gets a little bit more interesting.